is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Meet the Critters, episode 42. And we got a fun one. We haven't done an interview in a bit, and we got a newbie to podcasting, so we're pretty excited. So I am Kyle.
I'm Joe.
And let's get right into it. So we have William Robinson from Crooked Row Farms. Let's bring him up. What's going on, Bill?
Oh, same old, same old. I'm kind of excited to be here.
Kind of excited and kind of terrified. I get it.
Yeah, my whole family.
I roped him into doing it.
Yeah, my whole family would be watching. So,
yeah,
that's
awesome.
a pretty big deal for me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do you right then.
Right on.
So, Bill, tell everyone a little about yourself. What you got going on over there at the farm.
Well, we're got a lot of things going on, more than I like sometimes, but that's the way farming is, I guess. One of the bigger things we're doing this year is we're setting ourselves up a little better for furrowing for our pigs and trying to stick with a couple breeds and not just any old breeds. I'm trying to get the best of the best in my herd to grow, good pigs. So
yeah.
And then let's see, we're building a lamb barn, sawing lumber out for that. Just got a bunch of rabbits ready to go the other day. Should have babies here. Wow, the other day, almost a month ago now. Should have a ton of babies. I think I got like 16 does bred. So we're gonna have a bunch of rabbits.
That's so many rabbits.
Yeah.
You should have seen the lot that he brought into the shop. Those were his rabbits that I processed.
That's right.
Yep.
That was a small bunch too. Usually I do. Usually I do quite considerably more.
Yeah.
That is one that I miss. We haven't done rabbits in years. Like we just had a breeding pair as pets for a while after we stopped. There are times where I'm like, I do kind of miss doing rabbits, but then there's other times where I'm like, I'm all set. I'm done playing with that for the moment.
They can be awful touchy sometimes. I mean, you have good years and you have bad years. And when it's a bad year with rabbits because they just, if you get any little thing in there, it can wipe you right out within a month. I've seen it firsthand myself. So it's pretty scary, but I don't know. It's a good money maker for us. We do good. We probably sell, I would just guess, between 200 and 300 rabbits a summer. That's just awesome. A summer.
Well, I think that's the problem that most people have is they don't have a market for it.
Yeah, that's what I ran into. Yeah. I keep 3 does and a buck for myself, and that's plenty.
Yeah, so, if you have a market for it, fantastic.
Yeah, everybody that I talk to that raises rabbit, that's their problem. They don't have a market for it. And I just lucked out because I found actually more than one person now that they're using them for raw dog food.
Yeah.
So and they want quantity. They want a lot.
Yeah.
When this all started, the person I sold to wanted 50 rabbits a month, and it was overwhelming. There was no way I could come up with 50 rabbits a month.
Yeah. How many does do you think you'd have to maintain 50 finished rabbits a month?
Oh goodness. I couldn't even wrap my head around it. Like you'd have to have, my does do pretty good. The way I breed my bucks is a little different than most people do it. And I get big litters from anywhere from 7 to, well, we actually got one doe down there that's got 12 little ones right now.
Yep.
And
my one doe, she consistently puts out between 10 and 14 kits. So
right. Yeah. I would like to do a school sometime on rabbits because I've been raising them since I was 8 years old, since I was tall enough to reach cages, with awesome. My mom. And then my mom got out of it, and then my dad took it over, and then he got out of it, and then I took it over. So
yeah. Well, if you get around to doing that sometime, we'll definitely promote it for you. I can do something with the channel, and we can film it or whatever you want to do. Yeah,
because I've learned a lot, especially for instance, the whole breeding thing there. I was having a terrible time getting my rabbits bred, and then I started getting more bucks. I've actually got 5 bucks, and when the buck has a fall off, we put the doe with the next buck all the way down through the whole 5 bucks, and I haven't had a problem since. And we've been doing that for a little over a year now. So
makes sense. I mean, you get different times of the year, bucks can go temporarily sterile and stuff, from what I understand, and it's nice to have the backups.
And a lot of times the does just won't have anything to do with them. That's the biggest problem that I run into, because I try to keep them going year round. And I kind of think it goes with the seasons a little bit. Like when we have a warm spell, they tend to breed better than when it's really cold.
Now, I was ran into the opposite, at least up here, where it was the breeding season for me was like fall to early spring. I couldn't keep anything alive in the summertime.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, is your setup outdoors or indoors?
Yeah. No, it's outdoors. Yeah. It's outdoors. We're eventually gonna that's one of the other things that I need to do is get a small barn built, so in the wintertime, if it does get really cold, I mean, we lucked out this year, but other winters it gets down to 0 down here quite frequently. And other years we've run into problems with the babies had come, and then they just couldn't generate enough heat. So we've lost a couple times there, but that's only usually with new does and stuff like that. The older does, they know what to do. But I do need to get a barn built so I can, like in the wintertime when it gets super cold, I can put does in there and then just move them as grow outs out of the barn out to outside.
Out to the outside cages. Yeah, makes sense.
No, that's smart. Yeah, I've wanted, if I ever do get back into rabbits, it'll be like kind of how Joel Salatin has it set up, where he's got the greenhouses where the rabbits are on top, and then it's a enclosed chicken coop.
Yep.
I actually went and seen Joel's setup.
Nice.
I actually toured his farm last summer.
Nice. I met him last year at a festival and completely fangirled out. I just went complete zero composure. I was like, "Hi, it's nice to meet you."
It's fan manning. My wife calls it fan manning.
No, there was nothing masculine about what I did. I fangirled out 110% to the point where like people were like pushing me, like, "Go say hi. He's a person." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. Well, it was the same thing when I went and did the pasture class with Greg Judy. At first, you're like, they're big time name people. You don't want to talk to them or bother them, but they're so down to earth. He was, and he came out and ate lunch and breakfast with us and just talked to the whole group. And on our breaks, he'd come over and just start talking to individuals and talking about how, what you're doing on your farm. And so.
Yeah, I got to meet Jordan Green too. He's a really, really nice guy. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Joel. I didn't. We went there 2 days and he wasn't around, so I didn't get to meet him. But Jordan there, he's a real nice guy. I like him a lot. He's like pretty much like, go wherever you want, he says, and go see what you want. And boy, some of his pigs were some of the biggest pigs I think I've ever seen in my life. Boy, they were just
they do a large. He's got multiple employees and everything. Yeah. What I like about his channel is he sets it up to. He talks a lot about the business side of the farm too, which is super nice because there's a lot of content with that to where I watch tons of his videos on just the business side of the farm because you don't get that with a lot of the channels. And, for newer farms like myself and what Kyle's doing, it's nice just seeing what these other farms are doing, on the business.
It's real good because I'm good at the farming, but I'm not good at the business side of it. I just never have been.
That's all of us.
I let my wife try to take care of that.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Another good person to watch is the shepherdess. She does a lot on the business side of it too.
Yeah, I started watching her. She's been doing it for 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I actually thought about reaching out to her, seeing if she wanted to do a podcast. She's fairly newer into the farming stuff, but she has a lot of good content.
Yeah, absolutely. I watch her quite a bit, and Joel there. Joel and Jordan and her and what's a few more acres? I think it's called. I watch him a little bit in my
Just
spare
a few
time.
acres,
or just a few acres. Yeah,
Pete.
Yeah.
He's not that far really from us.
No, it's down by Ithaca, isn't he?
Yeah, just somewhere, I don't know exactly, but he runs all this product through the Ithaca Farmers Market. I thought about going over there to meet him sometime because it runs Saturdays.
Yeah.
So, but
perfect.
So
you covered, you're doing pigs and rabbits. What else you got going on?
Oh, well, we got sheep there. I think I'm gonna lamb out. I think there's 23 this year. They're all getting big and fat right now, so I think I'm gonna have my hands full come lambing season because it's not till May and they're already getting fat. So
a lot of multiples.
Yeah, right.
But that's the nice thing about goats and sheep. They can be a little bit tougher than cows and a little bit harder to keep in fences, but you can grow your flock so fast. They breed, you have them at certain time, depending on when you have them in the year, you can breed them that first year and a half, multiple, compared to what most cows have a single. You can build your flock and they turn around so much quicker too for meat wise. They're ready that first year. You don't have to wait 2 to 3 years to get a pasture raised product from those animals, which is super nice.
We've actually ate a few of our lambs, and I'll tell you what, I made a big mistake. I was trying to get them up to weight quicker, and of course I'm buying some grain, and giving them some grain, and we had the first one butchered there, and it was absolutely awful. Like you could eat it, but it was awful. So we took them off, and I started buying some really good second cut and hay, and the next one we had butchered, I'll tell you what, you ain't gonna have a beefsteak better than a lamb chop.
I've also heard that because what breed do you run?
There's Katahdin in there and Dorper. I actually had, when I bought the flock, they had a Dorper ram with them, and this year I'm breeding them to I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. Katahdin rams. Both my rams are Katahdin. So
you got those from local farm you were telling me, right? Another local farm here that's kind of
up to Angelica. They're her name's Jessie May. There, it's Firefly Farm.
Firefly Farms, Yeah. So
I
mean, I've heard really good things about the grass-fed hair sheep compared to like a wool breed. They don't have that lanolin or something in them.
Yeah. We don't want no more wool sheep. Actually, I got one left, and she's probably, if she doesn't do good lambing this year, she's going to go down the road because I do not like shearing. I absolutely hate it because you cut them. You can't help but cut them once in a while, and I don't want to do that no more. So
I got to find someone to shear the 2 that were dropped off to me. Someone's
I got a pair of clippers you can borrow.
Those things look.
I have no desire to shear a sheep.
It reminds me of like the random clips that'll come up on Facebook or whatever, or it's like, look at this poor sheep that was turned feral, and now all of a sudden he comes back 6 years later, and he's this big.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how these are. I think they didn't get sheared at all last year. Honestly, I don't know when the last time they were sheared, but man, the wool on them. I think I'm going to wait until like mid to late April, right before it starts turning too warm. Because they've had the wool on them so long, I'm afraid that if we shear them too early, we get a cold snap. They'll start,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of experience with sheep. They were just, hey, can't take care of them anymore. I'm like, whatever, we'll try them out. I really wanted to try hair sheep. I'd really like to get, a small flock going to those, but we'll see.
Well, I know guys that have some for sale next summer, probably some lambs anyway.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like Katahdins that because again, I've put a ton of them through the shop. A ton of people raise them up here. The one that intrigues me is Icelandic sheep. I have a customer that raises Icelandic sheep.
Yeah, I've seen them.
The meat quality on those things are insane.
They're are those a wool breed?
They are a wool breed.
Okay, I thought so. I don't I just started reading on the breeds and stuff and a little bit more on sheep, so I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, they are a wool breed, but again, they're a little bit smaller, but again, the meat quality on them is fantastic. And I'm like, all right, that's interesting. And I don't know, I've just enjoyed them, like process them. So if I was to get into it, it would either be Katahdins or them. I really don't want to get into sheep. And the more and more I look at my property and like what would work best for us.
Oh, they're so handy.
It would be a flock of sheep. Like,
they're so handy.
And if
I'm highly considering getting away from doing like breeding the beef cows and just keep my dairy cows, and then either do like a custom, try to find another small farm that will like let me finish out 4 or 5 head of their finished beef, because then I can run them right through the shop. They're already here on the property. They get like prime pick of my slaughter dates in the fall or whatever, however they have it set up for their farm. I'm not sure. I've considered doing sheep. The problem is most of my pasture's over on the neighbors, and we don't have any solid fence, so it'd all be netting or train them to a couple strands of polywire, which is fine. But I worry about the coyotes and stuff. I really don't want to keep a dog over there because they have a dog, and have them barking and stuff all night. Just my experience with livestock guardian dogs. That's the one reason I haven't really got back into the small livestock. Is I'd really like to find a livestock guardian dog that doesn't bark unless something's actually there. My last 2, it's like from the time the sun goes down till the time it comes up, they don't stop. And I just don't want to irritate my neighbors because I have a good relationship with them now, and I have a free lease on his property, and I really don't want to ruin that.
Yeah, my dog's pretty good there. I actually didn't end up putting him in with the sheep because I was afraid that he might want to go on a galley event, and there's a highway just down the road, and we live on, it's not a main road, but it's a paved road, and I really didn't want to see him get hit in the road or something because they're not cheap. And and he's like a member of our family. He is just the biggest, nicest dog that I've ever owned, besides the one we have in the house here. He's just a great guy. But he only barks when something's around. If he really starts barking hard, you better get headed out there with the gun because there's something around.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
The livestock guardian dogs are worth their weight in gold.
Oh, absolutely.
When I had my Marima cross, he was fantastic. Besides the barking, I didn't lose anything. I didn't lose chickens. I didn't lose rabbits. I had some rabbits that lived in the pasture with him, and he'd sit there and clean them. Besides the little babies, he always thought there were rats or something would kill them if they had babies in the barn. But other than that, I mean, you could put whatever in his pasture. If he knew that you put it in there, it was supposed to be there, you didn't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Great Pyrenees is doing a good job making sure the couch isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, I keep hearing hints that he might want to come in the house, and I'm like, no, he is a working dog. He belongs outside. And that darn dog, it can be snowing and raining, and he'll just be chilled out up there, just laying there like it's sunny and warm. Nothing, but the weather does not bother that dog at all.
Yeah, I have the most spoiled working dogs, I think. I have a Great Pyrenees and a Border Collie that just watch television. That's what they got.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing with their life.
They're like the rest of America.
Exactly.
Off the system.
Right. Yeah, they get paid to live off the system.
Exactly. They're just chilling. They're just living life.
Yeah.
We don't want to work.
Yeah.
What's on TV today?
Yeah, right.
So you're also into beef as well, correct?
We just raised a couple head. They're so expensive right now, we really can't afford them. So for now, we're not into the beef too much. I want to buy some feeders, but you're going to pay for them. I mean,
prices just went up again this month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then these fires happening in Texas, it drove the national average of cattle down again, and it was already at a low.
Right.
Yeah. So
it was at the lowest point since the 50s.
Yeah, that's what they were saying, and now it's even worse. And
prices are just outrageous right now. I've considered selling mine, but at the same time, I'm like, I can't afford to buy them back. So, what do I do? And I lined up a pretty nice bull for this year. So I might keep them throughout this year and kind of reconfigure. I might sell calves this year to pay for next winter's hay and see how it goes.
I see that AJ Richards there. You guys ever heard of him? Well, I see him on TikTok once in a while. And like he was talking today, a lot of we ain't even hit summer yet, and there could be droughts, and that's going to drive it down drive the price up even more. And it's beef's going to be good for a while.
This summer is going to be interesting when it comes to especially the agricultural space, because it's like things have been boiling for a while.
Yeah, and it's coming to a head.
Because it's like I'm on TikTok and the algorithm is just feeding me all of the European farm protests.
Yeah.
And of course I just sit on my couch just like, I'll get the Massey out there. I don't give a shit.
Right.
But like that's common. And there's a reason that if you say, hey, have you seen the farm protests in Europe? Most people go, huh? Like there's a reason that's not blasted everywhere.
Right.
Because again, those people aren't the protesters that are going to walk into the middle of the road and link arms because they stand for love. These dudes are bringing massive tractors in and just going, oh, nice barricade. Womp.
I was listening to Joe Salatin he's host or co-host on that Beyond Labels podcast.
Oh yeah, I watch that sometimes.
They just covered that the other day, and he said that usually 5 years after stuff happens in Europe, it happens here. He said, so you should pay attention. But he was talking about, I briefly caught it. So I was in and out of the shop moving quarters of beef in. And I swore he said that they get paid like 50, so much an acre a year to have farmland. And it cuts off at like 2 acres. So that's how they have. He said when he first started going to Europe before COVID hit, he was amazed at how many of these 10, 20 acre farms have these massive tractors and spreaders and whatever, and he couldn't figure out why. And then once he started, doing his classes and talking to the farmers, they get paid so much an acre to have farmland there.
Right.
I'm like, if only.
Yeah, if only. But I think the issue is that the only reason they're paying them so much to be farmers is because they're also at the exact same time doing everything in their power to like destroy farmers.
Yeah. Well, so it's here in America.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, it's terrible if like with the dairy farming, if you're not milking 500 cows, you might as well hang it up because you're going to get buried by the people who are. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing on any farmer. The way they do things the way they got to make money, but some of it's getting a little bit ridiculous. I mean, as far as having 5,000 cows and,
well, that's ridiculous. Pushed by the these milk plants. When I worked down here at the dairies here in Friendship, they were pushing to the co-ops. They were pretty much forcing the hand of the co-ops to get rid of the smaller farms because it's easier to control one farm with a few thousand cows than it is 50 small farms, and to get the same, because our food system nowadays. I just talked to a farmer, older couple. They stopped to check out the shop because they do grass-fed beef now, but they were milking 30 to 40 cows with bucket milkers up till they retired. And we got talking about this subject, and our food base is so everybody wants a consistent product, which you don't get on a small farm, it's fine. Because you're not going to raise, these big feedlots and stuff can push a few thousand head of beef through in these big slaughter plants, and they can mix match to get, all the steaks in this pack are the same size, or all this burger is the same coming out of the machine to go to McDonald's and Burger King and all these places. So, a lot of people are so ingrained and used to it, especially my age and younger, because we, got, our families had got away from the family farm and eating local and, good foods. Everybody's used to seeing they look at the package and they're like, oh, all the patties are a consistent size, or, all the vegetables in this, the waste in this country is ridiculous. I was just watching a video the other day. They were talking about how wasteful the United States is in their food production because it's not visually appealing to customers. So instead of putting that oddball produce or odd cuts of steaks or whatever, there's a few places starting to utilize this stuff, but it just gets tossed.
Right. Yeah, so, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The best food I've ever ate in my life was when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Off the farm, we did all our own butchering. We grew all our own vegetables. The only thing we go to the store for is like salt, flour, things like that. And I'll tell you what, like I was talking earlier about smoking my own bacon and doing that stuff. It's the best food you're ever going to eat. And it's the same thing with that. When I was a kid, that's all we ate. And everybody was healthier and the food tasted better. And as far as I'm concerned, who gives a shit if it's a steak don't look good? If it tastes good, then well,
Yeah.
And people, people aren't used to that. They're really not.
It's true.
So trying to explain it to someone who's not used to it.
Oh, they don't have a clue. They just don't get
understand. It's not even like most people aren't malicious about it either. They just don't get it.
Yeah, they just don't get it.
It's something that is just not in their lexicon, like in their frame of mind whatsoever. They've never thought about where their food comes from.
Well, it's like if a person has to pay a little more for a steak, they can go to Wegmans and buy it for, say $7 a pound. But maybe if they buy it off of me, they have to pay $8 because it costs me a little more to get it to them, And well, geez, I can go to Wegmans and buy that for $7 a pound. But they just don't. They don't understand. Like all our animals are grown with love, and we give them everything we got, and good animals make good meat or good food, and people.
And that's a thing. I just went through this with a couple of customers because now I started the customer and farmer list here. I've been able to connect a few. I mean, it's growing. It's slow still, but I'm connecting, the customers and the farmers. And my hardest thing I'm running into is getting the customers, they get sticker shock seeing the price of things right now because they're used to only buying their week's worth of groceries. Yeah. And when they're buying a year's supply of meat all at once, they're like, whoa, we don't want to do that. Or, they don't have the freezer space, and trying to figure out ways to, like I had talked to you when you were here with the rabbits that time. If we ever do a storefront here, if we're ever able to do the storefront here, I'd like to have local products, which would help the customers get local food, but they don't have to buy it in bulk. That's one of the big things I'm running into right now, either the price or the amount of meat they're getting back. They're like, we don't even know what we're going to do with this much meat.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people have it ingrained in their head too, that they have to buy a half a beef and a whole pig. It's like, no, I mean, you could buy a half a pig and a quarter of a beef and maybe some pasture raised chickens and mixed match. Now that, we pretty close to a ketogenic diet now, and we don't, we have a family of 4. We don't eat a whole or half a beef to ourselves. A lot of times I keep a quarter of beef. We get a couple deer in the freezer and a half a pig. But I'm raising it so I can, but that's what I'm trying to build with customers. I've got a few that are trying to partner up with other families so they can split a quarter of a beef down into smaller amounts for them. Mm-hmm. And like I told them, I said, once you get a feel of how long it takes you to utilize that meat, we can get on every 6 month or 4 month or 5, however long it takes them to go through that animal. Now that I'm building a farmer base too, I can pretty much keep people consistently coming back and be able to line up all the customers with the farmers a little bit better. It's just going to take time to get there.
Well, especially with the new, the new people, it's one of those best intention things. They go into it like, I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to buy half a cow. I'm going to support a local farm. This is going to be awesome. Then you hand them either the receipt or even before that, where they're like, oh, well, how much a round is this going to cost? And you toss out the number and they just look at you like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, that's my mortgage payment.
Yeah.
And that's for steak. And I was like, yeah, but it's for a whole year. Like, they can't rationalize it.
Right.
How much it is.
Yeah. Oh, we were looking into selling cuts, and we have sold some, but I'm not 100% sure because, you tell people what you want for it and they're like, oh, and we did pretty good. We've pretty much sold. I had 2 beef butchered last fall and we've pretty much sold out other than what we're keeping for ourselves, which was good, but I just don't know. I just wonder if it'd be simpler for me to just sell a half a cow or a quarter of a cow or, but I like selling the cuts as far as that goes, because people say, boy, that cut looks really nice, and, it tastes good. It was great. And, but I don't know if it's really worth the hassle.
I run into the same issue because I'm too nice to ask what I actually need to make. And I kick myself because I lost money the last 2023 season on my chickens and my pork, and I wasn't going to go back on my word. After, I already set a price. I just followed through with it, and but a lot of these farms that I'm talking to, there's one over here in Angelica. If you look up their prices, you're like, whoa! But they have a steady, once you find that customer base and they get the quality of product, it's just building that customer base that's willing to pay for what you need to make, and they know what they're getting. They understand that it's way healthier for them. They understand it's just building that. And around here, it's kind of tough because there is so many farms. Like, Kyle's explained where he's at. There's not many farms in that area
There's a lot around here.
Yeah, exactly. But
our area, Western New York, is, every road you go on, there's probably a farm.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest thing about small farms is the biggest thing they can do to help themselves is not get mad at their customers. It's to educate their customers about the situation. And it's like, this is a chunk of change, but this is going to work out for you. And like when it comes to selling cuts and stuff like that, I go back and forth on that all the time. Because it's like, for me, if I wanted to sell cuts, I'd have to send everything out to a different shop. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I have my own shop. There's no point in me sending it out when I can just sell wholes and halves.
Yeah, I thought about that too, because I'm a firm believer in dispatching the animal on the farm, not having to truck it and get it all head up, because to me it ruins the meat. With our pigs, we walk them out of the pen and I give them a little pile of feed and they get the dispatch right there.
One bad day.
They don't even know anything's going on. They're like, oh, feed, and then it's over with, and it makes the meat so much better. It just tastes better to me.
That's why I still hope the Primac somehow makes it through.
That would wouldn't awesome. That be nice?
That'd be so nice. I said it on, I forget what podcast I said it on. I don't know if it was this one. That if it doesn't go through, and even if it does go through, I might try to figure out how to try and copy or try how to put something into my state's legislature. Same as Maine's doing, where it's just like, just go do it. I don't care. Like, no cottage industry laws, just sell it. Figure it out for yourself. If I can,
I wish that would happen here in New York, but that's not going to happen.
I don't know.
New York live in the wrong state for that.
If we can figure out a way that they could make money off of it, they might be inclined to do it. Because
you're in the state of inclusion, so you're included in the shit show that is New York.
We should cut New York City off and send them down somewhere else, and we'd be golden up here in the southern tier. Everything in life would be great, but it's like they got a rope around our ankle and hanging on down there.
And I dread hearing anything that's happening in California, because once California does it, it seems like New York City's right on their heels trying to follow right suit.
Yep. So I talked to you guys about that. His name's AJ Richards.
Yep.
And he is actually trying to build a network across the whole country. I believe he's from Utah, maybe. And he's trying to build a network across the whole country to connect people with farmers. Just kind of like what you're doing, Joe. But he's on a huge scale, because I talked to him and he said, well, we don't have many farmers on the East Coast. And he said, go to my website and sign up, he says. And by the end of this year, he figures he's going to be countrywide.
That's pretty awesome. I'll check that out for sure.
You said he was on TikTok?
Yeah. He's on there all the time.
You should reach out.
Yeah, for sure. I'll check him out. Yeah, I'll check him out for sure.
Yeah, he's trying to build a network across the whole country. Now I was just like, wow, that's going to be something.
That's going to be awesome.
Gets that up and running. Yeah. So,
Rachel, I don't know where my wife's at. She headed home, so I'm surprised she's not on here with YouTube ripping on us tonight.
I know it is nice just having just being critiqued the entire time you're on a show. We love you guys. We love all of you. So lull, and lull, and I just called out a lull, so that's even worse. So what are your next plans? What are you thinking about trying to do next?
Well, we've kind of got into the quail a little bit there, and I've actually got a good market on pigs, butcher hogs, and little ones. I always sell out of little ones every year.
Yeah.
And then the sheep, we're going to double size in the herd. So next year I'm figuring on, if things go right, we're going to be lambing out 40 or 50 ewes next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then
I told him, I said, I want a gilt. I want a Berkshire Hereford gilt.
Yes.
Because he does have some excellent pigs. His boar came from New Hampshire. He's the one I was telling you.
Yeah, I was
telling
about
that before. I forget the guy's name, but I know who it is, because there's only
he's a reputable breeder
there's
in
only
New
two
Hampshire.
Reputable dealers up here in New Hampshire. So
yeah.
They're farmers.
He's a real nice guy, though. He was.
Yeah, I've heard.
I can't remember his name. It was a while ago.
Yeah. No, my Herefords come from the other stock. So I've meant to there was a moment there where I was like, maybe I'll just raise Herefords. And I went to go try and find his name, and I couldn't find it. And I was like, no, we'll stick with whatever crazy shit I'm trying to do over here.
Yeah, I'm going to breed Berkshire and Herefords is what I'm going to do. And the reason being is I've been in this pig business a long time, and the last 5 years that I got back into it real serious, I've learned a lot. You can, your Hampshires and your other pigs, they hit around 300 pounds, and to me they start to what I call flab out. You know what I mean? And I want a 300-pound pig, but I don't want all that lard and fat on them. I want them to be tight. You know what I mean?
Is that your target weight you go for with yours? Is 300?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the reason being is because down through the years, I've butchered 400-500-pound furrowing sows, and they might be a tad tough, but they were pretty good.
Is this live weight or hang weight?
Live weight.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
So 225, 250.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Hanging weight is what I'm shooting for. Yeah.
I know. We put one in, not this past year, but the year before, that was 276. And I was like, we'll hold on to that one. I'm not going to push that one on a customer.
Well, I actually sent some Hereford sows that I didn't want to keep for breeding to butcher there. And the guy that butchered them for me told me they were some of the nicest pigs he's seen. And they were almost full blood Hereford. So
I'm telling you, Herefords are the hidden gem of the pig world. They really are. I feel like nobody knows about them. Yeah. And if you do, you're preaching them from the freaking rooftops.
Absolutely.
And that's I was telling you a little bit before about what we got going on for pigs over here. That's the craziest thing about the cross that we have, where they're just mini Herefords. They're built just like Herefords, but smaller. And the meat quality on them is so damn good because they got the Ospa mega litres of fat. Oh.
Yeah.
I had a BLT with some of that bacon. I was like, I'll put it in the cooler all night and I'll slice it in the morning. I'm like, nope, we're not waiting on this one.
You're supposed to let it rest now. You're supposed to let it rest overnight.
It happens. I couldn't help myself.
I was going to say, I probably do the same thing when I start smoking here.
Oh, yeah.
I had to go back out to the shop. I closed up the shop and everything. And then I was like, yeah, no, I got to go back out.
Yeah.
Give the kids their mac and cheese. And I was like, that'll be right back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got a line on some purebred Berkshires too, right here in town. I just happened to stumble across guy moved out from the city, decided he wanted to try to do pigs, and he taught himself how to AI. And he's got one sow left, and he just AI'd her, but I processed her daughter from last year for him. That's how I stumbled on it. So I was like, if you're gonna have piglets, I said, let me know. I mean, she's a nice looking sow, and I can't remember what boar he bred her to, but he's been buying his semen from Shipley's. So and she looked nice. She was a little on the small side because he left her in with her mother, and obviously the mom was stealing half the feed off of her. But the meat quality was super nice. So I lined up a gilt from him too for this year.
Nice.
Boy, if he's got any extra little pigs he wants to sell, sign me up.
Yeah.
I will.
I'll let you know.
I've been trucking them in from out of state.
I think he said he's only going to keep 2 for himself. I told him because he kept the one because he was planning on breeding the daughter. Decided that he didn't want more than just a one sow. Super nice guy. So I told him, I said, in my experience, you really want to raise 2 from that are around the same age. They'll grow good, but you don't have to worry about the bigger pigs competing against the feed and taking half their feed. So that's what he's going to try this year. So I'll see. He's going to let me know when she farrows and how many he has, and I'll definitely let you know on those.
Yeah, absolutely. I will take everything that he hasn't got a home for.
I'm sure he'd be happy to have one person come and buy whatever's left. I only want one because I think I'm not going to raise a lot of feeders this year. I might do 2, one for ourselves and one to sell just for that reason. But I'd like to buy, a gilt from you and a gilt from him and just kind of refocus my breeding program without getting too big. I want to focus more time here in the shop and getting the customer list. We got the new addition starting here pretty soon. Smokehouse is supposed to be here. It was supposed to be here this last week. Now they're saying Tuesday. So we'll see.
Yeah, we got a big week coming up this week too. I actually am too cheap to buy concrete, and I want my furrow pens in the barn where I can kind of keep an eye on them, So what we're going to do is, what the problem was is it's an older barn, and the pigs, when they poured concrete back then, they put a ½ inch of concrete over 10 foot of field stone, and the pigs just went in there and tore it all up, and it's just a mess. So we're going to clean it out, but I ended up finding this quarry south of us that's got this stone with stone dust. And I was told if you buy concrete mix and kind of sprinkle it over the top and tamp it down real good and wet it down real good, that it's almost as good as concrete. So we're going to be rebuilding our furrowing setup this week.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm really considering. I've got all those pine trees where my pigs have been pastured the last 2 years. Now they have it cleared out. I'm really considering if I take a step back from like growing by farm, actually taking down a lot of those spruce trees and milling lumber for myself, and then building some kind of farrowing setup for my pigs. Just because I want something a little bit nicer. I got my blue butts down in the barn. The one didn't take, but I just had a real nice litter of piglets out of her cross my Berkshire Duroc cross boar. And it's just so much nicer having them in a pen. Just be able to control it. Then I can put them back out in pasture when they're, breeding and I'm raising the feeders and stuff, especially this time of year. And for around here, for us, a lot of people, I could probably sell if I had 15 litters of piglets right now, I could probably sell everything I had.
Oh, I absolutely
I hadn't even marketed.
I absolutely could, just by word of mouth, because I've been selling out of piglets every year. That's how come I hardly ever raise butcher hogs, because I never have any piglets left, because everybody wants them. They just take them just as fast as I can produce them. Matter of fact, I sometimes sell litters, no cash has changed hand, but somebody will want a litter before they're even born. Oh, I'll take the whole litter, so
I pretty much have my whole litter that I'm planning on selling sold. And the crazy thing is it's all off of TikTok and the podcast and other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that works out.
Yeah, it's a good feeling, but I would like to have 20 pigs a year raised for butcher hogs, because I had a pretty heavy demand after that butcher seen those pigs. I actually had 3, and I got 2 halves for my daughters, and then I kept one for us there, and sold the other one. So that paid all but $165 of mine being cut up. So that was a pretty good deal, and they wanted more. The person who bought it, I guess, must have told some people, and I could have sold some butcher hogs this fall, but I didn't have them, because I always sell the babies.
Yeah.
My ultimate goal is to get the pigs out on pasture, but I'm a firm believer that when you go to raise butcher pigs, it's fine to have them on pasture until they get almost to butcher weight. Then you kind of need to pen them up and put the grain to them and get them, so they're loosened up a little bit, is what I call it.
No, that makes complete sense. We did that this year. We had our Herefords out on 3.5 acres. I wanted to rotate it, and it just wasn't going to happen. So they had 3.5 acres to just free roam. They tore it all up. I'm super excited to see how it turns out this year. And then again, usually it times up for when it's going into wintertime. So let's go ahead, pull them in, start putting the feed to them. And start getting that fat cap we're looking for. They've already built the muscles. Now they're just growing them. And let's see and these Herefords came out fantastic.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. Like with the steer and the heifer that we raised, they were Jersey Holstein cross. And the people that I drive 10-wheeler for said, "Oh, you'll never get them fat. You'll never get them fat." Well, I locked them up in a pen, where they had plenty of room to run around and, be cattle and do whatever they wanted to. But I put the grain to them for about 3 or 4 months real heavy, and then I took them right off and put them on good second cut and hay. I'll tell you what, it was the best steaks and beef I've ever ate in my life. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal.
That's the tough thing with a dairy cattle, or even a Holstein cross with Angus, is you almost have to do that. It's very tough to raise those crosses on grass to get them finished out, to have a good quality fat on them, just because dairy cows nowadays, I mean, most of the commercial farms, these cows they're bred to live and grow on a high energy ration. I mean, if you're going to do grass-fed beef, which I like grass-fed beef, you got to have the genetics for it. You can't take a Holstein or a Jersey cross and just throw them out in the pasture and hope they're going to grow and finish out. You got
they won't finish in the pasture.
No.
No, they won't. You got to pen them up and fatten them up. But when it was all said and done, the people I work for there, he come down and looked at me. He said, "Boy," he said, "you couldn't tell the difference between them and an Angus, because they fattened right up nice, and they were just they turned out real good."
Honestly, I mean, the pictures that I had seen from them, they look like Angus crosses to me.
Yeah, they were jerseys, though. I'm 99.9% sure that they were more jerseys than anything, because I paid, I think, $13 for one, and I don't know, maybe 19 or something for the other one.
You're not.
They were
You're not ever. I mean, right now, calves. Somebody was talking on the one chat. They posted a supposedly purebred Black Angus bottle calf. I don't know. I mean, I don't trust anybody says that now, because all these farms are breeding the Black Angus. They're Holsteins.
Yeah.
Because the black calves are going so high. Someone said that in PA they were going for like $11 and something a pound for black calves.
I heard that.
What?
Yeah, the days of $100 bottle
$10
calf
to $11 a pound is what I heard.
That's insane.
Can you imagine that, buying that calf and bringing it home and have it get something and die the next day? I'd cry.
Yeah,
I couldn't take that.
No, I mean, I think my first two, right when the farm started getting into breeding their dairy cattle, the Angus, I had all the dairy goats, and my Nubians were producing so much milk. So I went and bought, I think I paid, one was a black Angus Holstein cross, and one was a red Angus red Holstein cross. They were heifers. I paid $25 a piece for them.
Right.
And I got my red and white steers out of that cow. That's the one that ended up dying on me from bloat last year because she got loose and ate like 100-pound bag of grain. But it was weird. She didn't bloat right away and die. I put her in a pen. I flushed her out with baking soda water and just straight hay for a couple days. And she seemed to be doing better. I let her out. Next day I come home from work and she's laying there dead. And that was my first calf out of her. So I raised her for 3 years before I got a calf because I didn't have a bull to breed her the first season I wanted to. And she ended up dying on me anyway. But yeah, you're not going to find calves for that price. That's why I'm struggling going back and forth on, do I downsize or keep my beef cows? Because I have no, really, I didn't pay for my beef cattle. I got them on trade for quarters is how I did it with the guy. He couldn't take care of them anymore. And yeah, so.
Sorry about that. I'll pop out the screen for a second. Yeah, I stopped raising beef for this year. Like and again, I jumped into it pretty aggressively. I went from like chickens or rabbits to two cow calf pairs. I was like, let's just run it. No, we're not running it. We had like 6 at one point running around, and I'm like, all right, this is way too expensive to do right now. We're not set up to do it. We got the space to do it, but again, it's all about being set up to do it. You can do anything, but if you got a setup that's subpar or you're not prepared for, it's going to be a bad time.
Yeah. I just as soon maybe not get into the beef so much and focus more on the pigs and the sheep because they're number one, they're a lot easier to handle. And number two, if I run out of money someday and they got to eat trees, they'll eat them. The sheep especially, they'll eat them, and they do good on, I don't feed no grain to the sheep anymore, and I won't ever again because it just absolutely ruined them. I'll tell you what I do feed a lot of though. In the fall time, I feed a lot of squash and pumpkins and things that I grow in my garden because we do quite a bit of produce every year too. And last year we kind of it went right in the toilet. We didn't sell because everybody's doing it now. Everybody's got a backyard garden because they're so scared of the stores running out of food, and thinking they're going to starve to death if they don't have a garden. But boy, I'll tell you what, you want to fatten some lambs up and fatten some sheep up, start feeding them some Blue Hubbard squash. That'll do it every time. And it's good food for them, and they absolutely love it. Yeah. Like we planted a whole great big Ziploc bag of Blue Hubbard squash, and every single one of them grew. And I mean, we were taking them up by the skid steer bucket load and dumping them in the pasture for them, and they were it was like candy.
Yeah, I usually try to do just like a random like free throw garden of pumpkins every year. Just try to get a couple plants going. And it's just for the pigs, just to feed them out at the end.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind in the future maybe leaning towards that a little bit, maybe finishing out a batch of 20 pigs and, some lambs, finish them out in the fall and just finish them out on squash and the garden stuff, because I think they do really good. And I think it would make the meat taste like really good.
Yeah, for sure.
You could grow turnips and beets and all that stuff, and I think they do real good on it.
Yeah, I planted my small field out back that the pigs were in last year, I planted that into like a food plot mix, but I put extra turnips and radishes in there. And the pigs didn't touch them until it frosted, kind of like the deer do. And they hammered. That whole field's like turned right over now. There's nothing left in it.
Yeah, they like them radishes and turnips and stuff.
I was thinking about doing that for the sacrificial area that the breeders are in right now, because I need to build another paddock just to get them out of there, because that section has been so hammered. There's been pigs on it for 3 years now, so it needs a break.
Yeah, I a couple strands of electric, Kyle. It'll be all right.
I actually am leaning towards, once I do get my pigs on pasture, because it's just everything is so expensive now. Fence posts, and if you're going to have neighbors, you need to have really good fence, because if you don't, you're going to piss people off, and it's just not worth it. You might better keep them in the barn, you know. And once I get that set up, though, I want to do rotational grazing with the pigs, and what I want to do is something like Jordan Green is the one to give me the idea from watching his videos. He goes in and broadcasts seeds it just before he takes a group of pigs out, and then, you know, it grows up to whatever he's put in there. And I think that's a good way to do it. I mean, you could feed pigs right up. If we had a late winter, you know, you could feed pigs right up till November, maybe even December, if it was the right year for it, on just pasture. And of course you got to give them some grain, but that'd be great, I think.
Oh, I have for sure, especially with my beef. My pigs wouldn't touch it. For some reason, there's a brewery up here that I guess they're trashy like me, and they don't like IPAs. But but no, they would. I'd get, like, you know, those like half pallet containers, like they have the plastic walls on the side and stuff. I'd get one of those full. It would be like hundreds of pounds. But the hard part about that is it doesn't keep. Like, you can't keep like spent brewer's grain in a barrel and just feed it out over a month. It is a very, like, it's got to get out, because once it cools down, then all the bacteria and everything starts growing in it. So
especially in the summertime when it's warm.
Oh yeah.
It just won't keep.
Yeah. The cows ate well, though. The cows loved it.
Yeah. I actually was getting stuff from Wegmans, their throw out produce and sub rolls and such, but in the summertime it just don't keep. And the amount of garbage that I was having to get rid of, you know, get a dumpster every couple months, it just wasn't worth it in the end. So I actually just gave that up a few weeks ago. Yeah. Told them I can buy a lot of feed for $250.
Yeah. I have a day at my local grocery store. I go on Fridays and pick everything up, which I'm pretty happy it's a Friday, because, again, just how shipments come in and out, it's usually a good day. I got 3 boxes yesterday, and like one of them was like mostly onions. And
my pigs hate onions.
They won't touch them. And I was like, whatever. It'll just decompose. Like, it'll
Oranges too, grapefruit.
Yeah, they won't touch, and red peppers for some reason, or they won't touch red peppers for me.
Oh, my pigs love peppers.
Nope, then my pigs will not touch it.
Yeah.
So I just combined 2 boxes. One was the onions, and the other was like lettuce and leeks and stuff like that. So I tossed them all in, and all 3 of them walked up. And again, these are all 450-pound breeder animals. They walk up, and all 3 of them just look up at me like,
seriously? We're not eating that.
What are you doing?
Where's the grain, you asshole?
Right. And I was just out there when I was feeding, and like all the onions are pushed out and like to the corner of the paddock. I'm like, all right, guys, whatever.
We pretty much just throw them right in the compost pile and cover them up.
Well, that's essentially what I did, because I know they're just going to pound it into the soil. We don't have a fully designated compost pit yet, besides.
Well, that's what we use for fertilizer in our hay fields. So we take all the manure and we pile it till springtime, till the microbes get woke up. And then usually after we take our first cutting off, we pick one field a year and just douse it. Hay field, you know.
I actually got in contact with our local Cornell extension, and I'm thinking about doing some kind of composting facility here for the shop. Just because the clay ground that we're on, and we're on a slope, here, you've been here, so you know, with the slope that we have, depending on how much it's going to cost and stuff, I got to read through the material she sent me. I think I'd like to do some kind of multiple bay system where we're doing compost for all of our offal and, bones and hides and stuff here at the shop, just because it's so expensive to get rid of it. I mean, it's $1,200 a week minimum to take it to the local landfill. Yeah. And so I talked to her, and she sent me over the information. I slowly been picking through it, but everything's been so crazy with me lately. I mean, I had that Galloway and that hog show up because I wasn't in the shop to get the message. Right. And I called him last week and I said, hey, I got a beef sold for you. His brother had a pig coming. I said, I'll take him whenever. Well,
whenever was today.
Yeah. And I wasn't, it's not like it was pre-planned because their cattle they're a little wild.
They're Belties, so
yeah, they got that Galloway blood in there. And I see him pulling in. I was over at the house working on my truck, and I'm like, well, that's Mike. I know what he was here for. I'm like, well, hopefully I can put her in the pens and she'll stay till the morning. I looked in the trailer. I'm like, oh, it's a Galloway. And before we unloaded, he's like, Joe, you see what she looks like, what color she is. You better get some lead into her before she gets out of tears your pens up. I'm like, well, I guess I'm slaughtering the pig's still out there. She's got to pass till the morning. But I was like,
they're they really are. I hate them. I got one coming on Monday. It's a 1-year-old male who's starting to get aggressive. Denise, I love you, but
yeah,
how much I love the Galloways.
She came off that trailer and I got the pen closed up and I locked it, and she was just running circles around that pen out there. I'm like, yeah, she's not staying in here for the night because I'll come out in the morning and she'll be gone.
Yeah. You'll just wake up in the morning. She's staring at you through the window.
Yeah. Luckily, I have the herd of cows right up behind the shop. So
more than likely,
fingers crossed, most of the time they're going to go up there and try to find a way to get in with the herd.
Right.
So
unless they're really spooked, and then they'll be in the next county by morning.
Yep. That's the last thing I want. That pen that we put her in, I put 2x6s over the top to deter them from trying to go over, but I'm not taking my chances. There's no solid roof over that.
Yeah. Well, we're up at an hour. William, do you want anyone to find you? Do you have a website for the farm or?
No, not yet. We're still in the infant stages of the whole website thing. We've looked into it, but it's just not something that we have done yet because we got so many other things going on. We're kind of trying to get our infrastructure all set up with we got barns to build, and I've been sawing lumber, and I got more lumber to saw to build more barns, and fence to build because I plan on bringing my goats up to where my house is. We're going to lean away from the produce a little bit this year and focus more on the sheep and the goats and the pigs and the animal side of things. And hopefully by next year we'll have all the animals anybody will ever want.
Beautiful. Joe?
As always, here with Kyle every Saturday night on Meet the Critters. You can find us on Blake's Lakers on Facebook, Blake's Lakers on YouTube. Still no TikTok or anything. I've been right there thinking about signing up for it, at least to follow Kyle's lives and stuff. I keep seeing everybody posting on it.
I've been on a hot streak lately. Today was wild. Just because I was home with the kids and I was smoking bacon. So again, it's 30-second videos, but all of a sudden there's 5,000 people viewing them, and it's like, oh, look at that.
Yep. That's pretty much it for me. And if anybody does want to reach out and get a hold of Bill, you guys can contact me on any of my platforms that I can put you in contact with him. If you guys got questions about any of the animals that he's raising, or you're in the local to Western New York or Northern PA, you're not too far from the PA border down there, right?
No, half hour, 45 minutes from Knoxville.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I have no way to get a hold of Bill, so there's that.
Look me up on Facebook. That's how people can get a hold of me if they want, because I've actually got it's Crooked Row Farms, and it's William Robinson. So yeah, they could look me up on Facebook if they wanted to. So
perfect.
Yeah, I usually post a lot of pictures and stuff. I've been slacking, but I've been awful busy lately. So
yeah. Well, if you can, send Joe that link, and I'll put it in the description of the video and on the audio podcast. So if people do want to come check you out, they can just go straight to your Facebook from there.
All right, that sounds good. It's been a pleasure, guys.
No, absolutely. And I'm Kyle again at Backwoods Butcher 603 for everything. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, which still has nothing. I'd appreciate the follow though. Just because you like me.
Encourage him. Go follow his Instagram, and he'll start putting more content on there for you guys.
Yeah, you can say that. I'll say it. I'll say that for sure. I don't know if it's going to come true.
I'm trying to get you more subscribers.
I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie to these people. They're our friends. They're our fans. They follow us. I'm not going to lie to them. I didn't get a YouTube video out this week. I'm going to try and get 2 out next week. I've been slacking, but we got the podcast. We have TikTok, unfortunately, but we're here. So, William, again, I appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely have you on again, especially if you get that rabbit school set up.
We will anytime.
Love to talk to you about it again and promote it. So,
right on.
We appreciate everyone watching, and we'll see you next time.